Hey guys, and welcome back to Regrexit. Brexit England, Northern Ireland, and Eastern Europe. And in Brexit England, Boris Johnson had such a bad day before yesterday, was lashed about with Partygate. It was Partygate all over the place. And some of the revelations there was really, really horrible. But as stayed true to form, as we all knew, Boris Johnson had a plan, and that plan was to start chucking around the candy. So Boris Johnson decided that between him and Rishi Sunak's first, his assistant, yeah, didn't even know of these plans until the night before. So this you can say this was actually rushed through, but I'm quite sure that they had it in the back of their mind that the Sue Gray report was going to be so bad that when that comes out, they need to get it off of the headlines the next day. So they come up with a great plan to give everybody, each and every household, right, who pays energy, a £400 rebate, you might as well say, because they're giving everyone £400 towards their electric bills and their gas. So I mean the bills have gone up 700, you know, and the price of food is rocketing up as we speak. As we're speaking right now, the price of food is rocketing up as fast as you like. It's rocking up actually faster than that, right? Which means that all of those trucks who delivered stuff to the supermarkets or to the restaurants or to the petrol stations or wherever the hell they're delivering it to is costing them more money. And do we need more money placed upon us? No, we don't. And also, welcome back to By Any Means Necessary. Thank you so much for all your messages you sent me. And a special thanks here to everybody who signed up to my channel. I feel so blessed with so much people that signed up. So thank you so much for that. I'll go through all your messages. I'll answer as many as I can. But I will like all your messages for definite. And we have to say R.I.P. Yeah, to Ray Liotta. 67 years old and passed away. You know, he was, he was making a film somewhere. I think somewhere in the Caribbean somewhere, and he passed away in his sleep. You know, just unbelievable. You know, just Ray Liotta. If you build it, they will come. Really sad, you know what I mean? Because I really did like him. You know, he starred in quite a few of the gangster movies. You know, and really, really good actor, fantastic actor, in fact. You know, so I have to say a special R.I.P. to him. And we find that Kevin Spacey, right, finds himself in real problems now after like being off screen for like I think it was like 5 years, right? Because his character was killed off in that program that was in on Netflix or whatever it was, killed off 5 years ago. Right. So after all this time, right, Kevin Spacey's been holding his head down, and his film's just getting ready to come out. And what happened? Right, he gets charged with 4 counts of sexual assault, I believe, in Britain. so he's gonna have to deal with that. But I don't know what's gonna happen to his new movie that he's bringing out. Do you know what I mean? But just this has been hanging over him for quite a while, and you just think to yourself, well, how come they couldn't clear this up before the man, got himself back in the movie game, right? So he could start going back to Cannes and all those type of places. And all now, yeah, the Brits are like, we're gonna mess that shit up for you. Right? But so it seems that Boris Johnson and Rishi Sunak have been splashing the cash about and giving everybody £400, right? After our bills have all gone up by £700 and due to go up by another 800 coming October. So, which £400, when you haven't got anything, is it's a good amount of money. It's a good amount of money, for a night out. It's a good amount of money for a night out. But as I said before, I knew it was going to be in the wrong way. I knew they was going to do it completely the wrong way, because you see, they really need to be giving people like £400 or £500 every month. I personally think it should be about 1,000, but that's where they should be starting, because every single person in this country, right, whatever it is, it's gone up on us. So whether it's the food costs, right? Because all the lorries, that have to take, that have to take the stuff to the supermarkets, or to the, whatever shops, or whatever buildings, or whatever companies, all the prices have gone up for them, right? And remember, a lot of these guys, they've got ULEZ. Right, some of them might have congestion charge, right? And now, right, Sadiq Khan wants to bring in, right, the ULEZ that covers the outer London now as well, right? So that's gonna really, destroy so many businesses, right? I could imagine that the ULEZ has already done that to so many businesses, right? And if you notice, yeah, everything, right, is taken out on us, on the working classes and the poor. Everything is taken out on us. Everything, no matter how you look at it, right? Everything hits us the worst, because you're going to find your working class and your poor. They can't go and buy new electric vehicles, so that they don't have to pay the ULEZ. They can't just go and do that, right? But all those people you see on the telly, right? They'll just be like, oh, yeah, well, yeah, I'm just going to buy myself an electric car next week, because they've got that money stacked in their bank account, so they can do that. Right? But we're just stuck. We're just stuck with the ULEZ. And if they bring out the charge that surrounds London now as well, right? That's going to make it much, much worse for for the people who work just outside of London. So if you're working just outside of places like Ilford and and I suppose it must be Beckenham or Bromley, right, where the ULEZ was, where it would start over there, because obviously once you start coming into Catford, and I'm sure the ULEZ is going to be in Catford, but just in Bromley, it's probably not going to be in Bromley, right? So all those areas are going to be affected now as well, right? So all of the working class and the poor people within those boroughs now are going to be slapped up with another £12.50 a day, right, to be paying on top of, right, bills that they can't already afford. Right, so these guys are, although the £400 will be welcome, all right, but everybody knows, right, that it's just like a wand in a bucket. It's too much room, right? So it doesn't really matter, for these guys, right? Because you got to remember, yeah, that for all of these guys, right, who are preaching all of this nonsense to us on a daily basis, from whether it's from the TV or whether it's from the radio, right, all of them, right, are not affected by this, and they're all looking. Oh yeah, the £400. Oh, that's lovely, very nice. Remember, none of them need it, and I've heard a lot of them say. Well, I heard the Chancellor say this morning. Well, I'm going to take the £400 and give it to charity. They say, I'm glad you're in a position that you can take £400 and give it to charity. You should try giving them a lot more of your, near £1 billion that you've got. So I don't know. It's just for me. I just look and just think to myself, well, it's help, and whether or not the people in this country are going to fall for this bullshit, right? Whether or not, when the election time comes around, they're going to be like, oh well, there was Partygate, but he did give us £400. Even though, right, he probably increased our cost of living, right, by probably about £3,000 just this year. That's what our cost of living has probably, when you start adding it all up, right? Because remember that the hike in the fuel costs is probably actually more than that, right? Especially with the hike in the fuel costs, right? And then obviously the higher food costs. Right, even in the pound shop now, things are £1.25. Right, so that's a 25% increase in the pound shops. Right, so we're looking at probably it's probably £4,000 or £5,000 extra. Right, that we have to find every year. Right, and that's just after Boris Johnson of what, 2 years. Right, and we all got to find that extra, and believe me, these prices, they won't go back down, because because inflation's going to go up. Inflation's going to stay going to go there. So even when inflation goes back down, it's going to stay at these levels. when inflation goes back down. So it stays at these levels. So it's not like we're ever going to get back down to, £1.34 for a litre of fuel. That's probably never going to happen. We're probably just going to stay around that one, just under that £2 a litre. Right, which is just, it's just disgusting when you check it out. It's just disgusting. We've got all these guys, right, who are pumping petrol into this country, right, and they're up in the fucking West End driving around in fucking Bugattis, right, with foreign number plates on them, and they can't even get a motherfucking parking ticket. Right, they don't pay congestion charge, nothing, right, because they've got their fucking, they've got the Middle East number plates on them, right. But all those guys, right, they're just lucky enough, yeah, to be born, in a country where every part of the country has got oil underneath it. Right, and and they make, these guys, they just make absolute billions. And when you got the West End, you see all the Bugattis and all the, the Lamborghinis and the Ferraris and all those, just the top cars, and all these guys up there, right, living so good, right, off of something, right, they're just lucky to have from birth, right, and we, right, the people, right, have to suffer, right, the cost, right, of nearly £2 a litre, right. Diesel yesterday I paid £1, about £1.81, right, for a litre of diesel. Right, and my van takes, it's about, what is it, about 75 litres of that shit. Right, so you can imagine how much that shit costs to fill up. Do you know what I mean? It's just for us, every single thing, right? If we was lucky enough to have solar panels on our roof, that would be saving us so much money right now. But look at the people who can have solar panels. It's all your more wealthy people that can have solar panels and all these really cost effective ways, right? And they can have solar panels. They've got an electric car, so if they can manage to charge up their electric car with some solar panels, then they're not even paying to be on the road, right? Because a lot of these electric cars, you get a free tax with them for now. You get like free tax with them just for now, until until everyone's driving an electric car, and then they'll decide to how they're going to start charging you, because obviously once all of the working classes can afford electric cars, in a good few years time, once the prices have gone down, because we've got to wait for literally the second-hand market, even though, right, there is a bit of a second-hand market out there, right, but all of those, right, are like your first and your second edition electric cars, right, and they're crap. Right, they haven't got, they can't do really good mileage, right? The battery, you need to charge the batteries a lot more, and obviously now, getting to now, the battery, when you buy them cars, when you buy like second hand, you might have to change the whole battery bank, which, right, I don't know if the prices have gone down. But the last time I heard, I think it was for like a Leaf or something like that, and someone had to pay like £7,000 to replace the batteries in it. So that just shows you that these things at the moment are still out of our price range, because even if we do get one, right, it could be one with with the batteries dying, or you've got one, right, or you say, well, you know what, I might as well have petrol, because this some of these hybrids, a lot of these hybrids, I've been in, especially the older ones, you might as well just have petrol, you might as well just run the shit on petrol, because you have to drive the thing at under 25 miles an hour, right, and you don't really get. And a lot of them you're only getting like maybe 60 miles or so, right, when it's driving in hybrid, and in petrol, you can get 35, 40, some cars 50 miles. So I don't know, it's just one of those things where, as I said, every single thing seems to be set against us, no matter how you look at it, whether it's the electric vehicles, because at the moment they're out of our price range, right? Getting solar panels, right? If we didn't have them from before, right now, I mean, who's going to have money to put up solar panels on their house? So as I said, even though the £400 might be welcome, right? they should really be giving people £400 a month, because that's what people need, right? As I said, but the universal basic income should really be about 1,000. But we might get there one day. Republicans want to take up laws on door controls. Basically, the Republicans are saying, "Oh no, what we don't want to do, we don't want to bring in laws on guns, right? But we can, have the whole school, right? Just going through one entrance and they come out through one entrance. Isn't that a bit dangerous? I mean, what do you think the fire marshals will be saying about that? You see, the mentality of these people is not to say, well, you know something, yeah, we've had 19 babies murdered in a school. In a school. Parents sending their children to school should not be afraid. They should not be thinking all day, I wonder if my children are going to be all right. They shouldn't have to have that conversation in their head. Right? And now all these Republicans can come up with is, we should change the position of the doors and we should have an armed guard on the door. I say, well, how about if you ban guns and then just, you can have as many doors as you want in the school. I mean, it's it works for us over here. When you hear the Americans talking, right, Ted Cruz, right, he got cornered by a Sky reporter. I think it is either an English guy or a Scottish guy, right, who cornered Ted Cruz, and he was saying, and he was like asking him questions, right, and he said to him like, people hate this like American exceptionalism. Like obviously when it comes to like your gun culture, people hate this because this is the only country in the world that this happens. And Ted Cruz got really pissed off, right? And he went, people hate American exceptionalism, so why do so much people want to come here to live? And the guy he said, no, that's not what I'm talking about. I said, I'm talking about the gun culture and these murders. That's what I'm talking about. You're the only country in the world where this happens. That the Swiss, right, have got as much guns as the Americans, right? And they can, I believe they can open carry or they can conceal carry, right? But you haven't got the Swiss massacring people, and nothing like the America. It's like the Wild West. Right? On a daily basis, people are being murdered with guns on a daily basis. Right, people are being shot all over the place, right? And these people still haven't worked out. Your problem is the gun. Let me tell you something, America. Last night, I was listening to a discussion on the radio, right? And we was over here debating electric scooters. You're debating AR-15s. We're debating electric scooters. Now, I don't know where you would prefer to be, but let me tell you this. I would prefer to be debating electric scooters rather than AR-15s getting into the hands of 18-year-olds, right, who go and murder, right, 19 children. Some of these children was as young as there was 8, 9 years old. The oldest was 10. Most of them was, most of them was 10, but some of them was 8 and 9. Right? Their bodies are unrecognizable. Right? They have to get DNA. They have to get DNA from the parents, right? So that they can identify which children are which. That is what, right? The weapons that the Americans are selling to people, right? To regular folks, you're selling these weapons. These weapons, yeah, are more lethal than an M16. And you're selling these weapons, right? Weapons that have left little children unrecognizable. Right? This guy, right, had a bit of a police chase, and he's ended up at the school. Obviously, he must have been going there, right? And he's crashed his car, and he's got out. And he's had a bit, and I believe this was at 11:28. He's had a bit of a shootout, right, with some police that was there, right, but they was outgunned, and this guy entered the school at 11:41 after having a bit of a shootout with the police. 11:41, 11:28, 11:41. He entered the school. He managed to get inside the school, right? Because the police haven't got the weapons, right, to have stopped him from getting inside that school. Imagine being in that position. Imagine giving your citizens weapons that they can outgun police officers. I mean, the only way that should be done, yeah, is it should be illegal. You shouldn't be able to have weapons that can outgun police officers unless they're illegal weapons. These weapons wasn't illegal. These was legal weapons. He went and bought these weapons on his 18th birthday and bought a whole bag of bullets to go with them. And the police was outgunned. The police, and then it took an hour for SWAT to get there because they had to wait for SWAT because they're outgunned. They haven't got the weaponry to deal with an 18-year-old child. How, America, does that work? How is it an 18-year-old child can get weapons that outgun a police officer? How does that work? What is going on? But let's talk about doors. Let's talk about changing the laws on doors. Now that rhymed. Shall we talk about that? Changing the laws on doors. Yeah, let's talk about the really important stuff. The really, really important stuff. Let's not talk about, a kid who has outgunned police officers and then managed to run inside the school, barricade himself inside of a child's and teacher's classroom with over 20 children in it and murder all of them and their teacher and their supply teacher while wounding other children in the school. How can you look at yourself in the face, right? All them Republican senators. How can you look yourself in the face when a child can outgun the police? How does that work? I mean, it's not the first time. In Buffalo, right? The guy he outgunned the security guard because the security guard had a gun, but his gun wasn't enough. So you tell me, how does that work? Why would you sell weapons to people, right, where you know that they can outgun the police? And just give them a bazooka. They can go and take out a whole station. Take out SWAT as well while they're there. Right? This is a crazy society that you people live in. A crazy society, right? Because I want you to hear those words. A child outgunned the police. And you want to talk about doors. You're still holding their conference. They're still holding their conference of death. Right, the NRA. They're still holding their conference of death, right? Just 300 miles away from where this incident took place. While they're burying some of the children, right, these people, right, will be holding their gun conference and having little children play with guns inside the auditorium. You have to say, what kind of society are you? When you are the only place in the world who are prepared to allow people to run into a school and murder your children. Little children, babies. I mean, what does it take? What does it take for you people to change your ways? What does it take? It's no wonder that you execute so many people every year. Because you've got a lawless society. You've got a society that's run by guns. And when you've got a society that's run by guns, right, it's always lawless. And that's what you guys have got. You've got a completely lawless society. And it seems that hard Brexit plans by the head of the MI5 have been leaked, right, by this new Russian hacking website. See, this is why they warned us about this shit yesterday, because I think the Russians are going to start leaking a load of stuff. So the head of MI6, yeah, his emails have been leaked, right, by the Russians. So they've decided they're going to leak it all online now, so we can see exactly what the hell these people was up to. You know? Russian hackers' plans laid bare. Covert lobbying efforts to influence Brexit. Insignificant leak. So the Russians are again, right, and they're just showing all of what, basically they're showing all of what they done to influence Brexit, so that people in this country can say, well, actually, we was influenced by these people and we didn't even know it. But of course, you was influenced by them, right? But you already had the racism within you. Right. So it wasn't really difficult, and the people, what they're talking about, yeah, they're talking about those people who were stupid enough to go along with it, right? The people who was fed all of these stories on a daily basis. They're just fed loads and loads of stories on a daily basis, right? You know, negative stories about, about migrants, and about, like Nigel Farage standing in front of the breaking point poster on the day when Joe Cox was murdered. So all of those type of things, right? Because remember, Joe Cox was murdered I think it was round about the time of the time of the vote, isn't it, for to leave. So and that's when Nigel Farage done the breaking point poster, and just showed what the truth of what he really thought, and because obviously that Nigel was very upset, right, about the immigration figures. And the truth is, right, the immigration figures, right, are the highest they've ever been. Imagine that. It's the highest it's ever been. Ever. 1 million people, 1 million people was given visas to come here, right? And obviously, it said all of these will be, they're all like educated people, because you know what your Brexiters are like. Because you're stupid racist, you can only do, right, low wage jobs, because you people are stupid, so you can only do low wage jobs. And if you don't believe that, why do you think, right, no one can come here to do a minimum wage job? No EU citizens can't come here to do a minimum wage job, right? And citizens from anywhere else in the world, they can't come here and do a minimum wage job. These guys are all doctors. There'll be nurses, dentists. They'll be working in IT. So they'll just come over as your boss. But I'm sure that is exactly what you voted for. You voted so that your children, so you and your children, right, can be over here to do all the the low skill jobs, like work, go and work your ass in a supermarket. Don't worry about sending your kids to get highly educated, because even when they do, there's going to be some Indian or some African to come and take their job, because however you look at it, those Indians and those Africans are going to have a much greater work ethic, right, than anybody that's born in this country. And that's the reason why they're always going to come and take away your job. It's as simple as that. But right, I'm quite sure you people knew exactly what you was voting for when you voted with the racist motherfucking self. Liz Truss is upset and feels disrespected by the Americans. Right? How dare you, right, start talking about you're about your trade deal. You don't want to give us no trade deal and all them things there. If we start messing about with the Irish protocol, how dare you get involved in our business? Oh, I think it's called, right, when you lose all your status all around the world, right, and people can just look down their nose and just talk to you however they want to talk to you, right? And if you say anything, there's a bitch slap your ass and say, shut up. Anyway, guys, look, I've gone far off my time, but not as far as I have been going of late. So, this is Friday, and I have to wrap this up now. I'll see you next week. This is By Any Means Necessary. I'm James C. John Ribbs. It was really nice to speak to you guys. Comments below.